Oh, yes, folks. Let's get you guys unmuted. Let's make sure you guys can hear me. That's right. I'm back. And that can only mean one thing. We are getting ready for the Atheist Crew Book Club. And today's show is about to be a motherfucking problem for the theist. A motherfucking problem for the theist. I ain't here to talk about no bullshit. I ain't here to hear no bullshit. What the fuck is going on with this damn tablet? Oh my goodness, y'all, this tablet is driving me crazy. It will not turn. It just won't. It just won't turn. It refuses to turn and be the orientation I wanted. Guys, I don't understand this. What the fuck is this? I can't even tell you how much this is irritating me. Like, the shit held up the whole broadcast because the orientation on this thing is fucked up. Like, it just refuses to be the right way. Hang on. Me off. Sorry about that. Well, folks, right back to getting up these fucking theist ass. There's a motherfucking problem in the house. And the problem is that I am not coming alone tonight. On tonight's broadcast, I will be featuring the work of one Christopher Hitchens. And Christopher Hitchens will be relaying a message very similar to our very own James Apperson. Why am I hearing myself? That's right. Some of you may remember that our very own Pastor Apperson got himself into some trouble with Rebecca from Bread of Life because he insisted that Christianity and its bullshit childhood indoctrination is motherfucking child abuse. Well, guess what? We are gonna hear what Christopher Hitchens has to say about the subject. And I got a sneaking suspicion he don't agree with Rebecca. That's right, James Pasterson. And on top of that, we are going to get into this sacred death tribute ride for 9/11. That's right. God bless America, land that I love. Well, what kind of U.S. champion would I be if we didn't do a special event to celebrate, or not so celebrate, let's say remember tragically the things that happened on 9/11. So the Sacred Death Motorcycle Club has invited a couple other motorcycle clubs to get together for a little awareness ride, because hashtag we will never forget, and the motherfucking champion has championship responsibilities. I don't really like America. America doesn't really treat me all that well. America is pretty much sitting on some bullshit and can go fuck itself. But I am the United States champion. You know what I mean? Let's start this fucked up ass show.
Ready for takeoff?
Whoa.
been jumping on them planes like a hobby. Still moving with the pack like my partners. Put the John on them jets cause we wildin'. But the bowl is a party on the island. Moment of silence. So good, get back to the topic. Grew up, it was me and Flocka. Grandma's and Big T, this my mama. I ain't even for the pain when my pops flipped. Knew his name, that's it, never bothered. Mom said, you the man, son, you got this. Ever since I found a way to go and pop shit. Hold up, blaze through a whole zip. Took a seat at the table of my first flip. Days in red roof with my first whip. Spent the money with the gang, never post pics. Seen the change in the game, had to coach it. Never let them take my wangs in the mold, bitch. Ever made in a month, nigga. Used to serve him at the minute just to front, nigga. Goddamn.
Listen to me, God's people, get out.
God's people, get out.
If you can't take the heat, you better get out of the kitchen right now.
If you can't take the heat,
I'm sick and tired.
You better
of
get out.
Out war going on.
I am sick and
God's
tired
people,
of it.
Bunch of filthy sodomite perverts. And if you don't like it, get out of here. Let me tell you something. I'm sick of it.
I'm sick of it.
I'm not gonna back down.
I'm not gonna back
I'm sick
down.
of people not backing
And
me
I'm
up on
sick
this.
of people
and you know
not
what?
backing
You
me
are
up on
insane.
this.
If you're not gonna back us up, let me tell you
bunch
something.
of
God's
godless,
people, you are
filthy,
insane. I don't want to hang around with a bunch of
sodomite.
You are insane. And a bunch of queer baits and a bunch of effeminates. Get out. I don't love God. I read the Bible.
You are insane.
I'm just a brainwashed fool. Let me tell you something.
That's what the Bible
I can't
calls
think
you.
for myself. God's people,
Did you hear fucking Otangelo today?
That's what the Bible
you guys
calls
should
them.
be
Dog.
handling poisonous snakes,
I'm just
drinking the
a
poison
brainwashed
without
fool.
harm,
I'm sick of
touching
it.
the people and healing them, and you're not. You're not. You're full of it. And I'm sick of people not backing me up on this. If you can't, almost died. Pocket almost died. If you can't take the heat, get out of the kitchen. Don't try this at home. I'm a professional word wrestler. You will get yourself hurt. I'm just unbelievably well conditioned for this. You know? So it's for the real pros. You got to go to professional word wrestling school and all that shit first. Might lose a limb up in this bitch.
You kind of caught
me off guard here.
Now,
I have to say.
Let me put it very simple.
It takes a lot of money to do what I do.
Oh, yeah. Well, for example, that's really none of your business. But
That's really none of your business.
Let me give you another example. And I prayed about it.
And I
thought,
prayed about it.
back when.
And I might add another thing.
It's a misunderstanding. I'm talking about the Bible. God, I get excited talking about it.
Gotta get excited talking about
I had
it.
to learn this, the demons. Abraham was very, very well. I learned it from him, from the Bible.
There's a foundation in the Bible.
Wait a minute, man. The blessing of Abraham.
Gullet shot.
Abraham was extreme.
What up, Caterpillar?
He had
YouTube Punk was first. I got Cameron Bennett second. I got Caterpillar third. Boom. There we go. Done, and done. Easy. There's a foundation in the Bible. Man, I get excited talking about it.
And I understand that. And I love them with all my heart. If you go into the old covenant, and it's full of meanness.
Man, it's full of meanness.
Full of hell on earth.
It's
He
full
made
of
that
hell
information
on earth.
cheap for me. I couldn't help but buy it. I love your eyes. Face to face, person. Just the same as
Where
Jesus
the hell is
very
Nano?
little. Rulers of the darkness.
I miss Nano.
God bless, Father bless. But it's a biblical
haven't
thing. It's a
seen Nano.
spiritual thing. It doesn't have anything
What am I
to
going to do without the flying disciple man?
Signs and wonders.
Actually, yeah, let's play that one next, and then we'll play our last one.
Things. Jesus, people.
Jesus,
I love
people.
me. Dragging some woman down an aisle, it made me so mad, wanted to punch the guy out myself. We wrestle not,
We wrestle not.
people. And I have a lot of natural gas.
Wrong order. I got to go with what I see.
bro, you have to maintain, dude.
I got Captive Desk first, YouTube Punk second, Cameron Bennett third.
Fucking adult, bro.
Fuck what you talking about.
In terms of reality.
Stupid ass house nigga.
And not
that's what the channel shows.
Fucking
juvenile
worldviews.
Flag waving phony Christians.
Whoever fucking talks next month.
I see Cameron Bennett.
Okay, I'm gonna make a fucking point here. And if
Cameron
I get interrupted,
Bennett was first at 7:30.
By the way,
then Captain Dash, then YouTube Punk.
If you can't handle fucking people using strong language,
if you can't handle all the fucking, cause you's a house nigga, cause you's a motherfucking nincompoop house nigga.
Okay.
You the devil.
Fucking
Ron Hubbard is the true God. I don't give a fuck what you think, bitch.
If you can't handle
the
heat, then don't come.
So you know I ain't worried.
Welcome to the Atheist Fever Dream.
Cut that bitch off.
Cut that bitch off.
Into what?
Turn that poop into what? Turn that poop into what? Turn that poop into what?
You fucking income fucking poop.
Fucking income fucking poop. All right, y'all, we got one more to close out the week, to get ready for a big weekend coming up. What could there be big enough for such a momentous occasion? That's right. Get up off your feet.
Well,
Let's
I wrote
dance.
This song for the Christian youth. I want to teach
time to move around. Get your steps in. Put your Fitbit on.
Then you got to do a rap to a hip-hop beat. So I gave my sermon an urban kick. My rhymes are fly. My beats are sick. My crew is big and it keeps getting bigger.
That's cause Jesus Christ is my nigga.
Woo.
That's right. He's a life changer,
miracle arranger, born to the virgin mom
in a manger.
Water to wine, he's a drink exchanger.
And he died for your sin.
I preach the word, that's my gig, and I rhyme better than
Notorious Big.
All the other MCs, I wish them well, but if you live in sin,
you burn in hell.
Now I'ma pass the mic to my lovely wife. She's a fly MC
and the light of my life.
So to bust a rhyme without further ado, take it away, Mary Sue.
Come on, Mary Sue.
Jesus Christ is my nigga.
Jesus Christ is my nigga.
He's the son of the original G.
That's right.
And he was sent to earth to elucidate the way that we should be. What?
Like
if another MC says you're a freak, you're a lame butt rapper and your rhymes are weak. I don't get mad and I don't critique. I forgive him and turn the other cheek.
Let me see you twerk it a little bit. Twerk it a little bit when you turn the other cheek.
And my pants don't sag. I do exude a little Christian swag.
And I'm proud to be an American. Come on, y'all. It's 9/11. Jesus Christ is a nigga.
Let his light shine through you.
Let his light shine through you.
Let his love pop a cap in your butt and say
hallelujah.
Jesus Christ is a nigga.
Jesus Christ is a nigga.
He's a homie MC, JC, you see. He's an honest, caring, peace-loving nigga like me.
A peace-loving nigga like
me.
If
you do drugs and you think you're cool, you need to come to Sunday school. Put those drugs in a garbage can. Stand up tall, you're a Christian man. Word up.
Word up.
I'm freestyle.
That's right, I'm freestyling. Oh yeah. Oh yeah, let's get into it. Let's get into it. Live from Sacred Death Studios in Los Santos, San Andreas. Welcome everyone to Late Night Counter-Apologetics. And now, please welcome your hosts, He is the wise man of the Sacred Death Motorcycle Club. He is the sexiest man in all of word wrestling entertainment. He is the most entertaining man in the history of evolutionary biology. He is the virtual visionary, Mr. Dual PhD himself. Please give it up for the architect of the atheist apocalypse, the only man to have his vestments blessed by Pine Creek, the most high apostle of the cult of the Flying Man. He is none other than the Outlaw Prince, the one and only Jesus who can save us, Dr. Heartbreak J. Pocket Locker BUNDY! Cute. I know I'm sexy. I've got the look that drives the girls while I got the moves that really move them. I send chills up and down their spines. I'm just a sexy boy. Are y'all ready to go? Are y'all ready to do this? The United States champion is here. It's 9/11 and I am in full whoop-ass mode. I make them hot. I make them shiver. They just get weak whenever I'm around. They see me walk. They hear me talk. I make them feel like their God ain't real. I'm just a sexy boy. I'm not your boy toy. I'm just the U.S. champ. U.S. champ. It's 9/11, y'all. 9/11. That mic flip though. Eat your heart out, girls. Hands off the merchandise. I'm just a sexy boy. I'm not your boy toy. I'm just a sexy boy. I'm not your boy toy. I'm just a sexy boy. I'm not your boy toy. I'm just a sexy boy. I'm not your boy toy. I'm just a sexy boy. I'm not your boy toy. I'm just a sexy boy. I'm not your boy toy. I'm cute, I know I'm sexy. I've got the look that drives the girls while I got the moves that really move them. I send chills up and down their spines. I'm just a sexy boy. I'm not your boy toy. I'm just a sexy boy. I'm not your boy toy. I make them hot. I make them shiver. Their knees get weak whenever I'm around. All right. Y'all know how it is. Sometimes the entrance gets so good and the wrestler ain't done with his apparel and you just got to start that bitch all over again. It just happens. Welcome everybody to the Atheist Crew Book Club. I am your host with the most, from the East Coast. And as always, folks, I am in airplane mode. If you don't know the deal, you ought to know by now. You need to not walk, not hop, not skip, not jump, but PJ your way over to itsairplanemode.com, where you will pick up the latest album from my cousin OG Roddy. It's called LaGuardia. This one is going to help us catch a vibe today. It is called A Crunch Time Flow. I'm going to go ahead and award some currency. And after that, we will go into communion. Get your alcohol ready. Get your weed ready. Because after communion, we're going straight into Christopher Hitchens. So go get your shit together. All right, let's get this order correct. Or as correct as we can. We got Cameron Bennett first. Can't wait, let's the bag straight. Been on my game, I don't lag on the ass. Soon enough, the same ones that hate, same ones that's valet. Damn right, niggas wanna see a million pocket change. Damn right, niggas crossing over like you sham guys. Next we've got Captive Deaths. You shake my hand, we 100 or $500,000 for second. Never take the stand on ya. You my nigga tryna get 100 grand with ya. Yeah, if you my dog, know I love you the most. And then YouTube punk. There's a wild YouTube punk. Stay patient, ain't lack faith. Ups and downs, but it's a crunch time, and that's me. Did the dash straight out the lot, playing some Max B. Niggas see me. All right. Top 10 and rising. We've got the currency doled out. We are going to be ready to jump into our communion after this song. Go get your shit together, y'all. Catch a vibe. No, I'm keeping you close. If you ever show me love, no, I'm keeping you close. Some shit that I was thinking about. Just some shit that I was thinking about. Man, I don't like the way this is hitting lately. Yeah, this needs to be cleaned out. Right. All right. All right, here we go, folks. Y'all already know the drill. Mac. That I'm not sharing with the bugs. Please raise your glasses and hold on to your asses. No, I haven't added them yet. I haven't had time to do anything. I don't have time to do crappy on between Saturday and Sunday. Through him, with him, in the unity of the flying man. All glory and honor is yours who flied for our sins forever and ever. You may drink. Oh, yeah. All right, folks, that was our communion hymn used to initiate our communion ritual. Please enjoy our communion song used for breaking bread. It is the marijuana interlude, which we play during our marijuana interlude. You get it at where? You already know. It's airplanemode.com. Oh, thanks, YouTube Punk. I'll check them out when I can.
Start my morning every day with her. In the afternoon I lay with her.
I'll either have time tomorrow or Tuesday to add him to the soundboard.
In the morning hit her faithfully. At least the dog when we touch. No one falling in love. I ain't even tripping cause she the one I could trust. Even bring her out on dates with me. See my mama new place with me. She hold me down on the days when I ain't feeling too up. I ain't even tripping cause she with me in the clutch. I go all out the way for ya. Take some time out my day for ya. I even took her on a plane, but she ain't even a drug. Some say I'm tripping, but they ain't even in love. In the morning I might lay with ya. In the afternoon I play with ya. But I know I'm never tripping. The signs say I'm in love. Mary Jane is different cause she ain't even a drug. She be there every day for me. She my sweet Mary Jane shorty. I even took her.
The audio soundscape engineer.
Some say I'm tripping.
Appreciate you, YouTube Punk.
She be there dealing way with me. She be there to take the pain from me. The homie said that I'm tripping, but all they do is get
Let me pull up the Discord.
on the wax. They thinking I'm off the drugs. I go all out the way for you.
Oh yeah, these are great.
In the morning I might lay with you. In the afternoon I stay cause she know that I'm in love.
Oh shit. Oh shit, y'all.
She go running every day with me. Take the keys
We got some crazy new
I'm
sounds.
tripping, I ain't slipping cause she ain't even a drug. Niggas sipping lean, ain't worried what's in your cup. In the morning I might play with ya. Take a long walk and stay with ya. She my sweet Mary Jane and she the one I could trust. Niggas sipping lean, but me I'm smoking a dub. I go all out the way for ya. Take some time out my day for ya. I even took her on a plane, but never enough. Some say I'm tripping, but they ain't even in love. In the morning,
That's so good.
I might lay with ya. In the afternoon, I play with ya. But I know I'm never tripping, cause hi, I'm in love. Mary Jane is different, cause she ain't even a drug. Yeah.
Oh, bitch, get out the way. Get out the way, bitch.
Oh, so good. All right, y'all. We got some gems coming to the soundboard. Let's go ahead and get into this Christopher Hitchens God is Not Great so that we can head over to GTA and get to our 9/11 awareness ride, which starts in a little under an hour. All right, so we're going to go over here to the audiobook. There's really nothing to show you guys because it's an audiobook, but this is chapter 16, Is Religion Child Abuse? Man, somebody let me know if James Apperson comes through, because this is exactly what he's been talking about recently.
Chapter 16, Is Religion Child Abuse? Tell me straight out, I call on you. Answer me. Imagine that you yourself are building the edifice of human destiny with the object of making people happy in the finale, of giving them peace and rest at last. But for that you must inevitably and unavoidably torture just one tiny creature, that same child who was beating her chest with her little fist, and raise your edifice on the foundation of her unrequited tears. Would you agree to be the architect on such conditions? Tell me the truth. Ivan to Alyosha in The Brothers Karamazov. When we consider whether religion has done more harm than good, not that this would say anything at all about its truth or authenticity, we are faced with an imponderably large question. How can we ever know how many children had their psychological and physical lives irreparably maimed by the compulsory inculcation of faith? This is almost as hard to determine as the number of spiritual and religious dreams and visions that came true, which in order to possess even a minimal claim to value would have to be measured against all the unrecorded and unremembered ones that did not. But we can be sure that religion has always hoped to practice upon the unformed and undefended minds of the young, and has gone to great lengths to make sure of this privilege by making alliances with secular powers in the material world. One of the great instances of moral terrorism in our literature is the sermon preached by Father Arnold in James Joyce's Portrait of the Artist as a Young Man. This disgusting old priest is readying Stephen Dedalus and his other young charges for a retreat in honor of St. Francis Xavier, the man who brought the Inquisition to Asia, and whose bones are still revered by those who choose to revere bones. He decides to impress them with a long and gloating account of eternal punishment, of the sort which the Church used to mandate when it still had the confidence to do so. It is impossible to quote the entire rant, but two particularly vivid elements concerning the nature of torture and the nature of time are of interest. It is easy to see that the priest's words are designed precisely to frighten children. In the first place, the images are themselves childlike. In the torture section, the very devil himself makes a mountain shrivel like wax. Every frightening malady is summoned, and the childlike worry that this pain might go on forever is deftly played upon. When it comes to the picture of a unit of time, we see a child on the beach playing with grains of sand, and then the infantile magnification of units. Daddy, what if there were a million squillion kittens? Would they fill up the whole world? And then, adding further multiplicities, the evocation of nature's leaves and the easily conjured fur and feathers and scales of the family pet. For centuries, grown men have been paid to frighten children in this way, and to torture and beat and violate them as well, as they also did in Joyce's memory and the memory of countless others. The other man-made stupidities and cruelties of the religious are easy to detect as well. The idea of torture is as old as the nastiness of mankind, which is the only species with the imagination to guess what it might feel like when imposed upon another. We cannot blame religion for this impulse, but we can condemn it for institutionalizing and refining the practice. The museums of medieval Europe, from Holland to Tuscany, are crammed with instruments and devices upon which holy men laboured devoutly, in order to see how long they could keep someone alive while being roasted. It is not needful to go into further details, but there were also religious books of instruction in this art, and guides for the detection of heresy by pain. Those who were not lucky enough to be allowed to take part in the auto da fe, or act of faith, as a torture session was known, were permitted free rein to fantasize as many lurid nightmares as they could, and to inflict them verbally in order to keep the ignorant in a state of permanent fear. In an era where there was little enough by way of public entertainment, a good public burning or disembowelment or breaking on the wheel was often as much recreation as the saintly dared to allow. Nothing proves the man-made character of religion as obviously as the sick mind that designed hell, unless it is the sorely limited mind that has failed to describe heaven, except as a place of either worldly comfort, eternal tedium, or, as Tertullian thought, continual relish in the torture of others. Pre-Christian hells were highly unpleasant too, and called upon the same sadistic ingenuity for their invention. However, some of the early ones we know of, most notably the Hindu, were limited in time. A sinner, for example, might be sentenced to a given number of years in hell, where every day counted as 6,400 human years. If he slew a priest, the sentence thus adjusted would be 149,504,000,000 years. At this point he was allowed nirvana, which seems to mean annihilation. It was left to Christians to find a hell from which there was no possible appeal, and the idea is easily plagiarized. I once heard Louis Farrakhan, leader of the heretical black-only Nation of Islam, as he drew a hideous roar from a mob in Madison Square Garden. Hurling spittle at the Jews, he yelled, "And don't you forget, when it's God who puts you in the ovens, it's forever." The obsession with children and with rigid control over their upbringing has been part of every system of absolute authority. It may have been a Jesuit, who was first actually quoted as saying, "Give me the child until he is 10 and I'll give you the man," but the idea is very much older than the school of Ignatius Loyola. Indoctrination of the young often has the reverse effect, as we also know from the fate of many secular ideologies. But it seems that the religious will run this risk in order to imprint the average boy or girl with enough propaganda. What else can they hope to do? If religious instruction were not allowed until the child had attained the age of reason, we would be living in a quite different world. Faithful parents are divided over this, since they naturally hope to share the wonders and delights of Christmas and other fiestas with their offspring, and can also make good use of God as well as of lesser figures like Santa Claus to help tame the unruly. But mark what happens if the child should stray to another faith, let alone another cult, even in early adolescence. The parents will tend to proclaim that this is taking advantage of the innocent. All monotheisms have, or used to have, a very strong prohibition against apostasy for just this reason. In her Memories of a Catholic Girlhood, Mary McCarthy remembers her shock at learning from a Jesuit preacher that her Protestant grandfather, her guardian and friend, was doomed to eternal punishment because he had been baptized in the wrong way. A precociously intelligent child, she would not let the matter drop until she had made the Mother Superior consult some higher authorities and discover a loophole in the writings of Bishop Athanasius, who held that heretics were only damned if they rejected the true church with full awareness of what they were doing. Her grandfather, then, might be sufficiently unaware of the true church to evade hell. But what an agony to which to subject an 11-year-old girl! And only think of the number of less curious children who simply accepted this evil teaching without questioning it. Those who lie to the young in this way are wicked in the extreme. Two instances, one of immoral teaching and the other of immoral practice, may be adduced. The immoral teaching concerns abortion. As a materialist, I think it has been demonstrated that an embryo is a separate body and entity, and not merely, as some really did used to argue, a growth on or in the female body. There used to be feminists who would say that it was more like an appendix, or even, this was seriously maintained, a tumour. That nonsense seems to have stopped. Of the considerations that have stopped it, one is the fascinating and moving view provided by the sonogram, and another is the survival of premature babies of feather-like weight who have achieved viability outside the womb.
Yeah, I just want to pause there to reflect on something that Chad is saying. Yeah, I keep saying it. I guess I'll just keep saying it because I don't see it not being the case anytime soon. Power is power, and everything else is everything else. And these people only understand power because they're wrong. And it's something that I don't think our viewers and supporters and people who think like we do get. When someone is wrong, when somebody's sitting on some bullshit, when somebody's arguing an irrational position, they can't do it rationally. They can't do it based on the evidence. They can't do it based on, playing the game squarely, fairly, however you want to put it. So force, if available, is like, the first option, right? Like, go with that. Make them, whatever, just make them. Whatever, make them. Doesn't matter, make them, right? And then when they can't, it's accommodate them, be nice to them, welcome them. Open your doors to the gays, open your doors to the blacks, open your doors to those who believe in evolution. Open your doors to the LGBT. Open your doors to the poor. It's okay. You guys want, hey, are women leaders in every other walk of life already? Right? Are women leaders in every other walk of life already? Oh, cool. Well, maybe some of us can add some women lead. Maybe. Yeah, I'm not really sure on it. Not really biblical, but right? And then what do they say? And we're so progressive. And if it wasn't for the church, women wouldn't even be liberated. For it's the love of Jesus that led to the seeing women as equals. Right? So don't forget that, they will do this to us if they can. And it makes me think, too, of how we were talking about on Hot Program, how, just for noticing what we notice or being who we are, they treat us like we're so aggressive. So many of us will go home for the holidays, right? And they'll insist that we join in on the prayer and the celebration of the rituals, and there'll be, the cult Jesus shit all everywhere. But if you merely just speak to
overwhelming sense of impending doom.
Yeah, it's an overwhelming sense of impending doom. If you even speak to, just not practicing that anymore, right, or not believing that anymore, then you'll be treated as the one who's breaking with the social norm and being aggressive.
This is yet another way in which science can make common cause with humanism. Just as no human being of average moral capacity could be indifferent to the sight of a woman being kicked in the stomach, so nobody could fail to be far more outraged if the woman in question was pregnant. Embryology confirms morality. The words unborn child, even when used in a politicized manner, describe a material reality. However, this only opens the argument rather than closes it. there may be many circumstances in which it is not desirable to carry a fetus to full term. Either nature or God appears to appreciate this, since a very large number of pregnancies are aborted, so to speak, because of malformations, and are politely known as miscarriages. Sad though this is, it is probably less miserable an outcome than the vast number of deformed or idiot children who would otherwise have been born or stillborn, or whose brief lives would have been a torment to themselves and others. As with evolution in general, therefore, in utero we see a microcosm of nature and evolution itself. In the first place we begin as tiny forms that are amphibian, before gradually developing lungs and brains, and growing and shedding that now useless coat of fur, and then struggling out and breathing fresh air after a somewhat difficult transition. Likewise, the system is fairly pitiless in eliminating those who never had a very good chance of surviving in the first place. Our ancestors on the savannah were not going to survive in their turn if they had a clutch of sickly and lolling infants to protect against predators. Here, the analogy of evolution might not be to Adam Smith's invisible hand, a term that I have always distrusted, so much as to Joseph Schumpeter's model of creative destruction, whereby we accustom ourselves to a certain amount of natural failure, taking into account the pitilessness of nature and extending back to the remote prototypes of our species. Thus, not all conceptions are or ever were going to lead to births, and ever since the mere struggle for existence began to abate, it has been an ambition of the human intelligence to gain control over the rate of reproduction. Families who are at the mercy of mere nature, with its inevitable demand for profusion, will be tied to a cycle that is not much better than animal. The best way of achieving a measure of control is by prophylaxis, which has been restlessly sought since records were kept, and which has in our own time become relatively foolproof and painless. The second best fallback solution, which sometimes may be desirable for other reasons, is termination of pregnancy, an expedient which is regretted by many even when it's been undertaken in dire need. All thinking people recognize a painful conflict of rights and interests in this question, and strive to achieve a balance. The only proposition that is completely useless, either morally or practically, is the wild statement that sperms and eggs are all potential lives, which must not be prevented from fusing, and that, when united however briefly, have souls and must be protected by law. On this basis, an intrauterine device that prevents the attachment of the egg to the wall of the uterus is a murder weapon, and an ectopic pregnancy, the disastrous accident that causes the egg to begin growing inside the fallopian tube, is a human life, instead of an already doomed egg that is also an urgent threat to the life of the mother. Every single step toward the clarification of this argument has been opposed root and branch by the clergy. The attempt even to educate people in the possibility of family planning was anathematized from the first, and its early advocates and teachers were arrested, like John Stuart Mill, or put in jail or thrown out of their jobs. Only a few years ago, Mother Teresa denounced contraception as the moral equivalent of abortion, which logically meant, since she regarded abortion as murder, that a sheath or a pill was a murder weapon also. She was a little more fanatical even than her church, but here again we can see that the strenuous and the dogmatic is the moral enemy of the good. It demands that we believe the impossible and practice the unfeasible, by those who use unborn children as well as born ones as mere manipulable objects of their doctrine. As to immoral practice, it is hard to imagine anything more grotesque than the mutilation of infant genitalia. Nor is it easy to imagine anything more incompatible with the argument from design. We must assume that a designer God would pay especial attention to the reproductive organs of his creatures, which are so essential for the continuation of the species. But religious ritual, since the dawn of time, has insisted on snatching children from the cradle and taking sharp stones or knives to their pudenda. In some animist and Muslim societies, it is the female babies who suffer the worst, with the excision of the labia and the clitoris. This practice is sometimes postponed to adolescence and, as earlier described, accompanied by infibulation or the sewing up of the vagina, with only a small aperture for the passage of blood and urine. The aim is clear, to kill or dull the girl's sexual instinct and destroy the temptation to experiment with any man, save the one to whom she will be given, and who will have the privilege of rending those threads on the dreaded nuptial night. Meanwhile she will be taught that her monthly visitation of blood is a curse. All religions have expressed a horror of it, and many still prohibit menstruating women from attending service, and that she is an unclean vessel. In other cultures, notably the Judeo-Christian, it is the sexual mutilation of small boys that is insisted upon. For some reason, little girls can be Jewish without genital alteration.
Guys, I'm sorry, but it's 2022. Did y'all hear what I just said? It's 2022. If you don't recognize the gross immorality of this type of practice to appease a God that we don't know exists, it's a particular type of pathetic. You know what I mean? Like, we have debates about, you know, real intense disagreements and conversations about how nice should we be to these people? Is this person being too nice? Are you being too nice? Is this person too mean? You know, do we listen to them? Do we give them a platform? What's going on? If you're a theist out there, if you're a religious person, like, I'm sorry, but like, we're having that conversation about you because you're a particular type of pathetic. A whole new breed of illogical, irrational, and fucked up person. So deeply attached and emotionally dependent on just a fantasy, and willing to overlook all types of monstrosities to maintain this fantasy that is really a nightmare. And it makes me think about my own, circumcision. And it's like, I'm glad to be circumcised only because we live in this crazy religious world where, again, like, I don't know, like, it's almost like we treat, uncircumcised penises kind of different. So I'm like, oh yeah, I'm glad I got circumcised and glad I got that over with early enough that I can't remember it. But like, what type of fucked up ass thought is that? Like, and I think that's how a lot of people feel. Like, if you don't have it, you're probably just glad you don't have it, and you probably don't want anybody to fuck with your genitalia. Good for you. And if you do, like, rather than ever feeling like it was some great gift from God, you probably felt like, it was like a thing that this fucked up culture feels so strongly about. You're just glad happened to you before you can remember it. And that's just fucking wild. Absolutely fucking wild.
It is useless to look for consistency in the covenants that people believe they've made with God. Here, the original motives appear to be twofold. The shedding of blood, which is insisted upon at circumcision ceremonies, is most probably a symbolic survival from the animal and human sacrifices, which were such a feature of the gore-soaked landscape of the Old Testament. By adhering to the practice, parents could offer to sacrifice a part of the child as a stand-in for the whole. Objections to interference with something that God must have designed with care, the human penis, were overcome by the invented dogma that Adam was born circumcised and in the image of God. Indeed, it is argued by some rabbis that Moses too was born circumcised, though this claim may result from the fact that his own circumcision is nowhere mentioned in the Pentateuch. The second purpose, very unambivalently stated by Maimonides, was the same as for girls: the destruction as far as possible of the pleasurable side of sexual intercourse. Here is what the sage tells us in his Guide to the Perplexed. With regard to circumcision, one of the reasons for it is, in my opinion, the wish to bring about a decrease in sexual intercourse and a weakening of the organ in question, so that this activity be diminished and the organ be in as quiet a state as possible. It has been thought that circumcision perfects what is defective congenitally. How can natural things be defective, so that they need to be perfected from outside? All the more because we know how useful the foreskin is for that member. In fact, this commandment has not been prescribed with a view to perfecting what is defective congenitally, but to perfecting what is defective morally. The bodily pain caused to that member is the real purpose of circumcision. The fact that circumcision weakens the faculty of sexual excitement and sometimes perhaps diminishes the pleasure is indubitable. For if at birth this member has been made to bleed and has had its covering taken away from it, it must indubitably be weakened. Maimonides did not seem particularly impressed by the promise made to Abraham in Genesis 17 that circumcision would lead to his having a vast progeny at the age of 99. Abraham's decision to circumcise his slaves as well as his male household was a side issue, or perhaps an effect of enthusiasm, since these non-Jews were not part of the covenant. But he did circumcise his son Ishmael, who was then 13. Ishmael only had to part with his foreskin. His younger brother Isaac, oddly described as Abraham's only son, in Genesis 22, was circumcised when he was 8 days old, but later offered as a sacrifice in his whole person. Maimonides also argued that circumcision would be a means of reinforcing ethnic solidarity, and he laid particular stress on the need to perform the operation on babies, rather than on those who had reached the age of reason. The first argument is that if the child were let alone until he grew up, he would sometimes not perform it. The second is that a child does not suffer as much pain as a grown-up man because his membrane is still soft and his imagination weak, for a grown-up man would regard the thing, which he would imagine before it occurred, as terrible and hard. The third is that the parents of a child that is just born take lightly matters concerning it, for up to that time the imaginative form that compels the parents to love it is not yet consolidated. Consequently, if it were left uncircumcised for 2 or 3 years, this would necessitate the abandonment of circumcision because of the father's love and affection for it. At the time of its birth, on the other hand, this imaginative form is very weak, especially as far as concerns the father upon whom this commandment is imposed. In ordinary words, Maimonides is perfectly aware that, if not supposedly mandated by God, this hideous procedure would, even in the most devout parent, he stipulates only a father, create a natural revulsion in favor of the child. But he represses this insight in favor of divine law. In more recent times, some pseudo-secular arguments have been adduced for male circumcision. It has been argued that the process is more hygienic for the male and thus more healthy for females in helping them avoid, for example, cervical cancer. Medicine has exploded these claims or else revealed them as problems which can just as easily be solved by a loosening of the foreskin. Full excision, originally ordered by God as the blood price for the promised future massacre of the Canaanites, is now exposed for what it is, a mutilation of a powerless infant with the aim of ruining its future sex life. The connection between religious barbarism and sexual repression could not be plainer than when it is marked in the flesh. Who can count the number of lives that have been made miserable in this way, especially since Christian doctors began to adopt ancient Jewish folklore in their hospitals? And who can bear to read the medical textbooks and histories which calmly record the number of boy babies who died from infection after their 8th day, or who suffered gross and unbearable dysfunction and disfigurement? The record of syphilitic and other infection from rotting rabbinical teeth or other rabbinical indiscretions, or of clumsy slitting of the urethra and sometimes a vein, is simply dreadful. And it is permitted in New York in 2006. If religion and its arrogance were not involved, no healthy society would permit this primitive amputation or allow any surgery to be practiced on the genitalia without the full and informed consent of the person concerned. Religion is also to be blamed for the hideous consequences of the masturbation taboo, which also furnished yet another excuse for circumcision among the Victorians. For decades, millions of young men and boys were terrified in adolescence.
I'm sorry, but I'm not sorry. Christians, y'all do not have your ass whooped enough for this bullshit. Y'all make it like a person touching their own fucking flesh is the worst fucking thing imaginable. And this is so deeply toxic to a person's sexual development. I know, I've lived through it. But on top of that, read anything on sexual development. Read anything on emotional and personal development. Read anything on social development. It is awful to teach a person that their body is somehow a fucking such a vessel of sin that touching it in a way that causes them to, in the words of Uncle Bobby, splooge all over themselves is somehow a moral fucking problem and an issue for society. And yes, some people have problems with this shit. Some people can't seem to fucking sit through class without masturbating, or fucking sit through fucking dinner at a restaurant. But it's just like motherfuckers who have any fucking out of control problem on earth. Shit happens, people are fucked up. But this idea that, oh, there are some people who have a fucking, essentially a sex addiction, which in this case is, who gives a fuck, because their sex addiction is to themselves. So just keep that shit out of the rest of our faces and deal with that shit with your fucking psychiatrist. I just can't even with this shit, man. And this is the one that the evangelicals are so guilty of. Because I'm sorry, y'all know I'm an atheist church drummer, and I gotta be honest with you. If you do the count, get out your clicker, you know, and count how many times this shit comes up, all right? And then, you know, get out your spreadsheet like Peter W. and count how many sermons touch on or really, you know, are trying to get at this masturbation thing and the sexual immorality, and call it, you know, fucking, what do they justify it as? It's breaking the commandment of adultery, right? Because it's sex outside of your marriage, because it's sex with yourself. Go fuck yourself, Christians. And fucking Jews that think that those commandments are fucking legit. Y'all know I don't think the Jews get enough fucking shit. I just don't know them that like that. And most of the Jews I know are pretty cool, but yeah, I know I think the Hebrew religion is sitting on some bullshit, and the Islam is sitting on some bullshit. They're all sitting on some bullshit. The motherfucking tarot card readers and all the spiritual woo-woo motherfuckers are sitting on some bullshit. I really can't stand spiritual motherfuckers. Just the emptiness, right? I got a spiritual life based on completely fucking vacuous nothing. Can't stand that shit. But this right here is especially about these motherfucking evangelical nonsense carriers. The fuck is wrong with y'all? It's 2022. We got COVID, racism, hate, wars, LGBT problems, trans problems, like just everything. Young motherfuckers still getting caught. And here's the shit that pisses me off, y'all. It just feels like privilege. Like a bunch of white privilege. Because I could tell you as the drummer, y'all, I sit around with these fucking conversations of these fucking white boys. You know, and they're all, you know, 20 if they're a day old or whatever the fuck. Right? They ain't really ever had no real fucking problems in their lives as far as most of us could tell. And they're just sitting around, you know, wanting to cry to each other. I mean, literally wanting to cry to each other because they're so guilty and torn apart by the fact that they watch porn and touch themselves. And I got to sit there and be nice and loving and empathetic and try to, you know, support them and get them to understand it's okay and it's perfectly natural and it's all good. Like, relax. You're still a good fucking person and shit. But boy, it feels like fucking pampering a bunch of fucking privileged, fucking pathetic fucking young adults who won't grow the fuck up. A bunch of motherfuckers who have not realized there's something called the real world in which motherfuckers have real problems, and these niggas want to sit around and cry to each other because they're touching themselves. And then I remember it's not their fucking fault. Because their ministers and their churches and their fucking television programs and their music artists and their fucking books and all of this shit are constantly telling them that one of the biggest fucking problems facing the world today is people fucking splooging on themselves. And it's absolutely fucking pathetic.
Lessons by supposedly medical advice that warned them of blindness, nervous collapse, and descent into insanity if they resorted to self-gratification. Stern lectures from clergymen, replete with nonsense about semen as an irreplaceable and finite energy source, dominated the upbringing of generations. Robert Baden-Powell composed an entire obsessive treatise on the subject, which he used to reinforce the muscular Christianity of his Boy Scout movement. To this day, the madness persists on Islamic websites purporting to offer counsel to the young. Indeed, it seems that the mullahs have been poring over the same discredited texts by Samuel Tissot and others, which used to be wielded by their Christian predecessors to such dire effect. The identical weird and dirty-minded misinformation is on offer, especially from Abdulaziz bin Baz, the late Grand Mufti of Saudi Arabia, whose warnings against onanism are repeated on many Muslim sites. The habit will disrupt the digestive system, he warns, damage the eyesight, inflame the testicles, erode the spinal cord, the place from which sperm originates, and lead to tremors and shakes. Nor are the...
Christopher Hitchens has 3 more minutes left, and then we'll jump into this Rebecca thing, because I think that's interesting.
Cerebral glands unaffected, with concomitant decline in IQ and eventual insanity. Last of all, and still tormenting millions of healthy youngsters with guilt and worry, the Mufti tells them that their semen will grow thin and insipid and prevent them from becoming fathers later on. The Inter-Islam and Islamic Voice sites recycle this tripe, as if there were not already enough repression and ignorance among young males in the Muslim world, who are often kept apart from all female company, taught in effect to despise their mothers and sisters, and subjected to stultifying rote recitation of the Quran. Having met some of the products of this education system, in Afghanistan and elsewhere, I can only reiterate that their problem is not so much that they desire virgins as that they are virgins. Their emotional and psychic growth irremediably stunted in the name of God, and the safety of many others menaced as a consequence of this alienation and deformation. Sexual innocence, which can be charming in the young if it is not needlessly protracted, is positively corrosive and repulsive in the mature adult. Again, how shall we reckon the harm done by dirty old men and hysterical spinsters?
And gang, this is exactly what is wrong in my church friends, and it breaks my heart every time. They're just emotionally and socially stunted. They have not grown up. They can't grow up. They won't grow up. And I'm telling y'all, like, these are some great people. Smart guys, good looking, hard working, got their shit together, you know, minimal bad habits, you know, really just amazing people, except for this fucking religion toxicity, right? Beautiful young ladies, you know, they're not trash character, they're not wilding out, they're the type of, you know, great women to be in relationships with. They're gorgeous, they're fun, they're funny, you know, great social relationships, everything. And you see them around each other, especially the young single men and the young single women, and it's crazy, y'all. It's like they don't even talk to each other. Like, I'm like one of the weird ones because I'm one of the people that like breaks down that social norm. You know, I hang out with the girls, I talk to them, you know, I have a good time with them wherever we at, wherever we doing. Like, I kind of try to normalize, you know, intersexual behavior, but they'll notice it, right? Like, it's so weird to them. Like, I'll be at something. I remember a time we were at one of my friend's house and I'm sitting there and, you know, the guys are all in one part of the house, the girls are all in the other. I'm over there with the girls. And I'm the only guy with a table full of, you know, college-age girls, and everybody thought that was crazy. And I was like, you know, they're just like my students. Like, it's just like talking to a bunch of students. Like, I'm just talking to them about where they're from, you know, what they're into, their hobbies, you know, their families, how they found out about the church. Like, it ain't hard, y'all. I'm not working any sort of fucking social magic. It's just making small talk with people you literally see week in and week out, right? They're part of your church. We're around each other constantly. But it's crazy. It's like they socially isolate. They're in bubbles, right? They have their Bible study groups. And for us older ones, the adults, like they're co-ed or they're intermingled, whoever could be in them. So a lot of us in the worship team, we were all in kind of like the same connection group, they're called. But the connection groups for the college students are all, you know, they're single gender, right? There's ones exclusively for girls and ones exclusively for guys. And so it really is sad to watch their complete inability to socialize with each other. And it's just all down to this indoctrination that they've received of how bad it is and all of this type of stuff. Really, really sad. Really, really sad.
appointed as clerical guardians to supervise the innocent in orphanages and schools. The Roman Catholic Church in particular is having to answer this question in the most painful of ways by calculating the monetary value of child abuse in terms of compensation. Billions of dollars have already been awarded, but there is no price to be put on the generations of boys and girls who were introduced to sex, in the most alarming and disgusting ways, by those whom they and their parents trusted. Child abuse is really a silly and pathetic euphemism for what's been going on. We're talking about the systematic rape and torture of children, positively aided and abetted by a hierarchy which knowingly moved the grossest offenders to parishes where they would be safer. Given what has come to light in modern cities in recent times, one can only shudder to think what was happening in the centuries where the Church was above all criticism. But what did people expect would happen when the vulnerable were controlled by those who, misfits and inverts themselves, were required to affirm hypocritical celibacy, and who were taught to state grimly, as an article of belief, that children were imps of or limbs of Satan? Sometimes the resulting frustration expressed itself in horrible excesses of corporal punishment, which is bad enough in itself. But when the artificial inhibitions really collapse, as we have seen them do, they result in behaviour which no average masturbating, fornicating sinner could even begin to contemplate without horror. This is not the result of a few delinquents among the shepherds, but an outcome of an ideology which sought to establish clerical control, by means of control of the sexual instinct and even of the sexual organs. It belongs, like the rest of religion, to the fearful childhood of our species. Alyosha's answer to Ivan's question about the sacred torture of a child was to say, softly, "No, I do not agree." Our reply, to the repellent original offer of the defenceless boy Isaac on the pyre, right up to the current abuses and repressions, must be the same, only not delivered so softly.
Chapter 17. An Objection Anticipated. The Last Day.
All right, we made it. We've got 17, 18, and 19 left, and we will be ready to go. Although 17 is long, 18 is long, and then 19 is short. All right, so quickly, Jerome, I don't know what to tell you, bro. Like, you guys pick and choose what to watch. You're free to do that. You pick and choose who to follow, who to subscribe to, what to pay attention to, which moments you find interesting, which ones you don't, which ones stop you in your tracks. Like, I don't care anymore, to be quite honest, about accounting for what people in this out here see or don't see or get or don't get. But I've made it pretty clear, like, one, like, yeah, Rebecca's an independent actor. Like, I don't know what that means. She's an apologist. She's an evangelist. She's sitting on some bullshit. She has an anti-evolution channel. So I don't know why that's supposed to be new information to me. Like, I know Rebecca's acting on her own regard, and I think I've been saying this from the beginning, that y'all keep underestimating her. Rebecca's much deeper into this shit than y'all give her credit for. Y'all are falling for the sweet Rebecca, big brown eyes. I don't even know her eye color is, but y'all know what I mean. Y'all think she's so lovely and wonderful. I see somebody who's, as deep in this shit as Kent Hovind or Ken Ham or Sean McDowell or Capturing Christianity. She's just another apologist who's realized that a lot of atheists are suckers for a sweet face and a nice voice. But to the extent that, I know her, I'm more familiar with her, she's someone I'm friendly with. I think she's a great broadcaster in terms of, what we expect in this community. I think she's just got her shit together kind of a lot more even than a lot of the atheist streamers do. She is a nice person. I've always enjoyed, being on streams and things like that with her, but she's vicious when she wants to be, and then she'll play the, oh no, how could you say Christianity is child abuse, or how could you make sex jokes about me? That's all just part of the game with her. But I do reserve a higher sense of disdain. I wouldn't even say higher, just a different sort of disdain for people like Sal who present themselves as experts when I think it's very clear that they're not. And so Sal just kind of disgusts me. Like, I genuinely think Rebecca's really not that educated. And I know that for a lot of people that sounds harsh, but to me it's just the reality. It's like Rebecca just doesn't know what the fuck she's talking about. And she's a pew filler. Rebecca, I don't know if she was, but Rebecca to me is like when I refer to like homeschool heroes. That's Rebecca to me. Now, I don't know if she was homeschooled. She may have gone to public school or private school or whatever it is, but she's just not that formally educated on this. Whereas Sal, you know, to keep presenting his credentials all the time and presenting himself as a scientific expert and then being wholly unscientific, right? So I was like, I'm a scientific expert, but I accepted fucking young earth creationism without the evidence and without the facts. And the reason you guys should accept my skepticism as evolution is because this person who's not actively an evolutionary biologist, but a scientist says that there's problems with evolution. I mean, it's just, he's the worst. So he's a really shitty scientist. Whereas like Rebecca is just another shitty evangelist. They're all shitty evangelists. But Sal perverts science in his being a shitty evangelist. And so he wants to jump in the ring and make himself sound like one of the scientific big boys. Well, then, all right, cool. I'm going to get in the ring as a scientific big boy, punch him square in his face, and see if he can handle it. The other thing is, and I don't know, maybe you just live under a rock, but Sal's an anti-Avita apologist. Avita is the system I used for my research. So literally, more than any other fucking person on the internet, Sal's apologetics literally undermine my research, aka Sal is fucking with my money. Sal's fucking with my paycheck. Sal's fucking with what I do for a living. You guys want to talk shit about fucking... Okay? You guys want to talk shit about evolution and generally speaking? Fine. You guys want to talk shit about, abiogenesis? Who gives a shit? You guys want to talk about, there's gaps in science? I could give a fuck. You guys want to talk about philosophical blase and flavonoids? J. Bundy does not care at all. You start talking about experimental evolution in the LNCA lab, you start talking about Avita, you are fucking with my money. Now shit just got very personal because my paycheck is very personal. So when you're running around on the internet like this, talking shit about Avita, forgetting that people made Avita, people fucking livelihood and their research depends on Avita, and some of us were trained by the people who created it, we will fucking cut you over this shit. And I don't mean physically, y'all know what I mean. I mean metaphorically cut. And I'm not gonna keep making that qualification because it ruins the whole it ruins the whole figure of speech. But it's like, again, like, if I gotta keep going over this, like, I'm just gonna say you're not paying attention. Sorry, I'm just not paying attention. Because if that ain't enough for people to understand why I don't like Sal, plus I don't like Sal. Like, I don't understand why I don't get that. I'm not here to be liked by everybody. I'm not here to please everybody. I'm not one of them fucking YouTubers who just wants to get along. I don't give a fuck. I'm here to let y'all know there's just people I don't like. That's it. Part of the other reason we don't like Sal is because we just think Sal's a fucking punk. And we just want to chump him. Because we think he's fucking pathetic. We don't want him around. He's on the hit list. People that are on the hit list, they're on the hit list. Sal's on the hit list. Rob is on the hit list. Hit list. They're just on the hit list. Some people just need to be made example of. That's how I feel. Some people I just need to take their lunch money. I need to shut them down. I need them to feel badly about themselves. I need them to recognize that they have rivals. There's people that don't like them. You made your bed, now fucking lay in it, Sal. You made your fucking bed, now fucking lay in it. I hope it sucks. Hope it's a long, sweaty night of tossing and turning and cold sweats and all of that shit. Hope it's fucking restless. You got the restless leg syndrome. You know what I'm talking about?
I mean, my heart's beating, my hands are shaking.
Because I'm coming for that nigga, and I don't give a fuck. I don't give a fuck. I don't have to be nice. I don't have to be friendly. I don't have to sugarfoot around it. I don't have to be polite. None of that shit. None of it. I just flat out don't like that motherfucker, and I ain't afraid to show it. In some sense, the answer to the question is because it feels good to hate Sal. You know? I enjoy hating Sal. I really do. It brings me hope, meaning, and purpose. You know? I'm the United States champion. I'm not getting enough challenges. Tell these motherfucking theists to call in and challenge me. Tell them to set up some debates and fucking challenge me. Tell them the fucking champ wants to fight. And if motherfuckers ain't gonna step up and challenge me, well, then I'm gonna just fucking be out here harassing motherfuckers looking for a fight. That's what it's gonna be. Y'all won't challenge me, I gotta come looking for the fight. You know? Rob is more boring to listen to than the Chores. I don't know how y'all listen to Rob. And if you listen to Rob twice, like, man, I don't know if we should put you on an island by yourself because you're ridiculous, or if we should give you an award. Like, I don't know, because it's hard. Rob's is awful. But the in-depth Bible studier and physicist said the same things I did about Kyle, Strawman, VS, etc. Rob's just a terrible content creator. He's just the worst YouTuber on the internet. She doesn't have much of a link to Sal, given the type of things she's been saying. Yeah, but then there's people who come on every day and talk about how she's being coached by Sal. So this is what I'm saying. Like, Jerome, I just don't know what you're seeing, but a lot of us have seen lots of videos where Rebecca has been coached by Sal. Now, just because that hasn't been what her content has seemed like in the last 3 days, I mean, just look at the last 3 months. Like, I mean, it just sounds like a lot of recency bias, right? Like, dude, just a couple weeks ago, we were doing shows about, you know, Rebecca having Sal on to coach her, and then Rebecca going on Sal's channel to be coached. There's video of all this stuff. I don't know what you mean. Like, he seemed to be one of the people she leans on the heaviest for her talking points. When she does her anti-evolution stuff, she's literally regurgitating talking points from Sal, often poorly, sometimes with reference to Sal. So I just don't, Jerome, I don't know. Again, you guys get your little YouTube theories. Cool. Sometimes just going to have to say I respectfully disagree. I'm just working on different information. I don't see it that way. But again, I don't give a fuck. It's a moot point. It wouldn't matter. If I took Rebecca off the list of reasons why I don't like Sal, it wouldn't make me like Sal. It would just be like, oh, I have one less reason why I still hate this motherfucker. Like, I'm not gonna like Sal just because Rebecca is independent of him. Rebecca's independent of everybody, but I still think Sal plays a role in her indoctrination. Also, learn to recognize that I got to promo, I got to sell fights, I got to put asses in seats. You coming around here trying to have a fucking debate about me promoting feuds. People don't want to hear me take a reasonable stance on Sal. They want to hear the truth, which is that I want to stomp a mud hole in that nigga. Jay, they don't care about your objections. That's the point. Exactly. So if they don't care about my objections, then I don't have to care about their objections, right? The difference is my objections aren't sitting on some bullshit. So my objections will stand the test of time. My objections will stand the scrutiny. Sal's won't. And again, just like with fucking Ken Hovind, I don't have to rely on Sal or Rebecca because they'll either come to me or I'll get them through a third party, right? Modern Day Debates wanted to set up something with me and Sal. So what I got to worry about? I'll get on MDD or somewhere neutral. People can see what it is. And y'all already know my approach. I ain't even going to worry about Sal. I'm going to let him sit there on that bullshit. I'm going to spit facts and break backs. And he's going to look like an idiot. This is what it is. Rob is the worst. He ruins every show he goes on. When he goes on Pine Creek, it's the worst Pine Creek show. When he goes on Rebecca's, it's the worst Bread of Life show. His channel is awful. Oh, not Rob's. Yeah, I don't know why anybody would Rob Launcher. Because it looks like coaching, bro. You just got to watch those streams, Jerome. You got to watch the streams where Rebecca sits down with Sal. I'm telling you. You got to remember, dog, Rebecca's not that sharp, right? So Sal feeds her a lot of the talking points. Now, she may be done with Sal, right? Maybe she's got what she needs from Sal. But our point is, we know what Sal's doing. And I don't think Sal doesn't know what he's doing. Sal likes seeing himself as some sort of fucking anti-evolution YEC scientific guru. And there is no such thing. So Sal's a fucking fraud who needs to be exposed. The other reason I don't like Sal is because a lot of y'all look like y'all scared of Sal. Y'all talk nice about Sal. Y'all be acting all respectful of Sal. Y'all be acting like y'all don't know enough science to debunk Sal. I'll be telling you, I don't need to know a goddamn thing. Sal's sitting on some bullshit. And his whole tactic is to throw out all this high-level shit that makes it sound like he's super smart when things he's talking about are not evidence of what he says they're evidence of. So it sends y'all on this wild goose chase. Oh, my God, I don't know how to deal with Sal because he said ERVs. Oh, my God, Sal used all these big fancy words. Oh, my God, the zinc fingers. I don't know about zinc fingers, right? And I'll be telling y'all, you just need to say, Sal, nobody gives a fuck. None of that has anything to do with anything. None of those things demonstrate what you think they demonstrate. That's it. All right, we got to get over to this Sacred Death event. So for our 9/11 event, so let's go ahead and switch on over. And yeah, I'm gonna put up the casino theater and arcade. We're gonna switch to casino mode since we're going into gaming. And y'all already know I'm gonna leave Pocket Locker 86 up for a while so y'all can see what's happening. But I'm only gonna reward people on the casino theater and arcade. Y'all will get to see our cool new stream avatars. And then we will be live on the casino theater and arcade channel overnight as we are every night these days. All right, let's, fortunately, so far things have been going well. Let's go ahead and switch that over. All right, y'all, I'm switching over to the casino scene, so let me do my Steam thing. Let me get stream avatars open, looking good. All right, y'all, I'm gonna end the Pocket Locker 80. I'm gonna hit the Pocket Locker 86 end stream, switch over to the casino stream and get going over there. Y'all see me put up the casino start scene and we'll take it from there. Appreciate y'all. Love y'all, Pocket Locker 86. Thanks for being live with me. Stay live for a little bit. We'll give you a preview, but everybody else, y'all already know what time it is. Let's go to the casino. In the name of Darwin and Dawkins and the Christopher Hitchens, science bless you all. Peace, we out, motherfuckers.
Yeah, well. Too many cars, gotta stay out the way. Especially the streets, man, they in a rage. I remember my nigga, he caught a case. On a run on the low and he did the race. Caught a body, it ain't really shocked me. Rubbing on demon time since the bottom. All the bro in my yeah, man, we sharing mamas. I wish I could've stayed in from all the drama. Rare roof, we was really there getting money. This then with the place where the rain or sun, ain't no